And thank you very much for asking me to produce a quick summary of my thoughts of today. I'm coming to this from a non-expert. As Susan said, I'm a molecular immunologist. My research is in transplantation and making antibodies. But in actual fact, there's several themes that I picked up which I would perhaps like to share with you. But first of all, I want to really thank Juliet for organising today and her team. It's been really fascinating. I've really enjoyed having a day thinking about the science, the social science, and the wider issues as well. And this clearly is an absolutely fascinating, vital topic for a university like Brunel. Why is it so? Well, it's important. This is clearly important. It's vital for our future that we start addressing these questions, we start getting answers. It also involves a systems approach in order to actually solve the problems. And also something that we're very strong at Brunel, it needs partnership. It needs international partnership, and it needs partnerships between disciplines. And it can lead through to policy and policy issues. And as we heard from Mary, it's a really great education opportunity, and I'm really excited about this new programme that she has been leading us on. And it also needs a holistic view. But some questions came up to me today, and some of them came up as well in the conversation that happened just now. And that's actually, what is the best scale at which we should be taking action on? Where is the granularity? What is the system that we should be trying to change? And I was really taken what Sir Andrew said, that some of the biggest change can actually happen at the level of the city rather than at the level of the nation. And I think we've got to start thinking about that. That got me thinking about some of the old work of people like Ebenezer Howard, the Garden City movement in the late 19th century, early 20th century, those early Quaker industrialists who built cities or villages for their workers that combined the industry. And that they really tried to think holistically. They tried to integrate living. They tried to integrate health, production, recreation, and sustainability, at least as they understood it in those times. And I think there's actually a lot that we could learn from that as well, going back to some of those roots. Indeed, there's a garden village just down the road from here in Jordans, which was built on that premise. And that got me thinking as well about what is the role of the university in this. As people who are involved in university, what is our role? And there are two easy answers, and the easy answers are, of course, research, and we've heard a lot about that today, and I think that goes without saying. I won't say any more really about that one. And education, and again from Mary and others, we've heard about education and about dissemination of that message to the wider population. And again, that's something that's really important, but perhaps is fairly obvious. I want to think about what else we as university people, as a university sector, as people engaged in this, can do. Clearly, as a university, we operate as an intellectual powerhouse. And how do we use that intellectual powerhouse? Well, we are actually organisations that are quite special. We are organisations that are normally very much anchored locally. We are anchored here in West London, in Hillingdon, in Uxbridge. Other universities are anchored in their local communities. But we also have a global outreach. We have a global view. We have a global engagement. Within this university, 19% of our students coming from overseas, with all our collaborations going overseas, with 22% of our staff from overseas. This is something that we just do naturally, and it comes very normally to us. And it strikes me that if we are to get this planetary health really right, we need to somehow ride those two horses of being anchored locally, but thinking globally and engaging globally. And that's something that I think we need to do. I also think that that gives us an opportunity, indeed, dare I say it, a responsibility, to actually act as an anchor to our local institution for this sort of debate, to help drive change. And to help drive change not just by preaching at people, which we're very good at doing as professors, at least I am, but actually engaging with communities, engaging with societies, trying to work out with societies how to actually engage with these issues, and how to make a difference, and how to actually have an impact. And I think that that's actually a big lesson that we've got to learn as universities. We've got to learn how to connect through to our local populations. At the risk of being political, I think one of the things that I've learned from the whole of the Brexit issue, and I think we're seeing it with other political issues in the States and elsewhere, is that sometimes as intellectual powerhouses, we've become divorced from the populations that we live amongst. And actually, if we're going to affect change, we've got to work out how to make those connections again. My final point is around what universities can do, is that there's been an underpinning theme to today, an important strand today, and it's often been unspoken, but it's always been there. I think Howard was the one who perhaps made it most explicit, and that's around our values and the ethics of what we're trying to do. And Howard talked about justice. And to me, this whole issue is justice in several ways. There's geographical, I think we could call it justice. You showed the maps that showed how the people who were producing the problem weren't, if you like, consuming the problem. And there's a geographical justice. And again, many of the maps that we're seeing coloured reminded me of maps of when I was young and campaigning around the southern world, the third world issues. Very, very similar maps. But there's also intergenerational justice. The crap we're putting in the oceans at the moment, our children will have to live with and their children will have to live with. And again, we've got to start thinking about issues like justice. Now, justice is only one, I would say, of these values and these ethics that we need to be thinking about. But I think we need to be thinking about it. And historically, universities have had a major role in developing and propagating values and ethics and transmitting it to the next generation of students and other people. That goes all the way back to the religious foundations, the ancient religious foundations that were founded on a strong Christian or in some cases a strong Muslim belief. And they got their values and their ethics from there. You then had the civic universities of the 19th century, who again got a very strong sense of ethics and values, a different sense of ethics and values, but a strong sense of being. Right round to the universities that were often founded in the 60s, around often quite a strong political framework, or a social framework, or a particular pedagogical framework. And I would argue that perhaps we need to be a little bit more bold as universities about actually developing values and ethics and then not being afraid of propagating them and disseminating them. That doesn't mean we go back to the old religious universities where the ethics and the values are given to us by a pope or a bishop or an imam or anyone else. We've got to find ones that work for today. But I think as universities, part of the debate we are going to win is going to be a scientific argument. Part of the debate we are going to win is a debate around social science and around communication. But part of it has actually got to be that we have actually got to help people construct a value system that enables them to actually make this world a better place. So I'll stop there, but I'll just leave me once more to really thank the team, Juliet, the other team, everyone who's been involved, the speakers, to giving what for me has been a really fascinating day, a thought-provoking day, and a day that hopefully will kick something off here. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you.